Today on Locked On Rockies, it took 15 innings, but the scoreless streak ends for the Colorado Rockies, and the Rockies steal a win from the Diamondbacks.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 12th day of August in the year 2026. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here. Free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. Today on the show, we'll talk about the Rockies getting a much-needed win against the Arizona Diamondbacks, thanks to a big swing from Kyle Karros, who unfortunately leaves the game after a collision with Ezequiel Tovar just a half inning later. Tomoyuki Sugano, a rough first inning, but then gets into a groove as the Rockies continue to be basically their most successful version of themselves when he's on the bump, and the Rockies call up a big name in prospect land as Zach Veen gets the call to the big league squad. We're going to dive into all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we go any further, I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Join all the action at FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer this Major League Baseball season. I am, of course, Paul Holden, your Rockies fan extraordinaire. Been bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network for over 6 seasons now. That's hundreds of episodes of the Locked On Rockies podcast, going through the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between when it comes to Rockies baseball. And this one, it was looking like it might have been filed under the ugly column there, as Tomoyuki Sugano gets roughed up a bit in the first inning, allowing 2 solo shots and that triple to Nolan Arenado. But then after that, goose eggs and efficiency. Tomoyuki Sugano, it's plain and simple. He is the Rockies' best starting pitcher by a mile. When Sugano is on the bump, the Rockies are one of their best versions of themselves. I just wanted to share a stat from the broadcast. They started things off. This obviously changed from there, but going into this game, the Rockies are 13-7 when Tomoyuki Sugano starts a ball game for them. They're now 14-7 after the Rockies pull off the victory. The rest of the squad, 33-66. 33-66 the Colorado Rockies are when they have someone else start for them. So let's do just a quick some quick math here. They said this on the broadcast. It was roughly, it was close to basically 25% of the Rockies wins have come when they have Tomoyuki Sugano on the bump, which I'm just fascinated by. I just feel like this is something where, again, at the start of the season, you obviously the hesitations with the home runs, and we saw it in this one, but instead he has just been incredibly solid, and he doesn't let things phase him. He doesn't really, sure, there's been a couple of bad times, the bad games, there've been a handful of them. But in these instances where it looked like the Diamondbacks were picking right back up where they had left off, they were looking right at the Rockies, heat vision, locked on, looking to do big damage. He adjusts and he goes in there and he continues to attack the zone. He continues to be efficient, something that the Rockies desperately need from their starters here, as the Rockies of late, another stat here from the Rockies broadcast that they showed, which was interesting here. The last 3 starts for Rockies starters, Kyle Freeland, Michael Lorenzen, and Gabriel Hughes, none of them went over 4 1/3. Kyle Freeland threw 101 pitches, Michael Lorenzen threw 97, and Gabriel Hughes threw 88. All of them were averaging just about 20 innings pitched per inning there at 20.6, 19.0, and 21.2 for Freeland, Lorenzen, and then Hughes there. The league average is 16.6. Tomoyuki Sugano threw 93 pitches over his 6 innings worth of work. That first inning was tough, but he was able to respond and start setting guys down in a row while also being aggressive and finding himself in the zone. 5 strikeouts in this appearance for Tomoyuki Sugano. He had the 6 hits, but that's exactly what the Rockies were looking for from Tomo, and that's just the standard, and it's really awesome to see. Again, we talked time and time again about it's not going to be perfect. The Rockies are going to give up runs, but for Tomoyuki Sugano to be able to adjust, bounce back, and be very successful and go deep enough into that ball game, go the full 6 innings. It's just something that the Rockies don't have from the rest of their starters, and it's fascinating to see. They're actually, I think it might even trickle closer to 30% now with the Rockies and Tomoyuki Sugano when it comes to wins here. So he continues to just be an absolute huge success for the Rockies, and continues to be someone that is just such a strong leader for them too in that rotation. They need multiple guys that can do this, but it kind of goes to show you that the Rockies can find success with guys like Tomoyuki Sugano in their rotation. You can't have a rotation full of them. You can't have a rotation full of guys that can get hit around and guys that are home run prone and can't get the strikeout. But there are ways to find success with guys like Tomoyuki Sugano, and he continues to just be in a great groove there for the Rockies, and just again, like I said, the fact that all the other Rockies pitchers there 33 and 66, while Tomo's at 14 and 7. I mean, that's pretty darn impressive. We're talking about just under half of the other wins there from Rockies pitching. So it just highlights and emphasizes just how important he has been for the club, and it is one of those things where you're just impressed by that bounce back. You're impressed by the fact that he doesn't let it cause him to implode. It doesn't make it so he falls completely apart. That first inning, or maybe one inning in the game, it's going to be tough, but more often than not, Tomoyuki Sugano has been able to bounce back. And again, I just think I'm most impressed not only with the bounce back, but it's that then going on stretches of, the Diamondbacks didn't do anything against Tomo after that first inning worth of work there. Out of the 6 hits allowed, I believe 3 of them, half of the hits that he allowed in that start, were in that first inning alone before he goes and cruises there for the next 5. Great stuff to see from Tomo, and exactly what the Rockies needed, and to stay in this game and give them an opportunity to let their offense come alive late. And that's exactly what happened as Kyle Karros hits a massive 2-run home run here there to tie up the ball game. Unfortunately, as we'll have to see, I tuned out of the post-game show before they got to Schaefer's comments on Kyle Karros. I would assume it could be something that potentially concussion related, or at least something with the head when you're talking about the collision between Tovar and Karros. Unfortunately, looks like Karros catches a good amount of Tovar's shoulder there. Been a few of these miscommunications on the infield. That play was pretty tough. Where it was hit, we had Karros kind of playing a little bit further over to short. Both of them certainly had a beat on it, but the broadcast mentioning it's not as easy, or kind of impossible to be able to call somebody off like a fly ball on the infield on a hard hit ball on the infield. But it was a scary looking collision, and of course it happened right after after Karros has that massive moment, and it completely flips the script of the game, jolts some life and energy into the Rockies dugout. And for a team that hadn't scored since the 8th inning of their previous game against St. Louis. I mean, the Rockies were still looking to get anything done on offense, and Karros comes up big with the huge home run. But unfortunately now we will have to wait and see what it's going to be the result, and what is the extent of this. I'm just kind of scrolling real quick on social media to see if there were any quick tweets or anything there, but he was able to stand up. He did walk off under his own power, but he was sitting on the ground for a bit. He was clearly dazed. He was clearly woozy. So I don't think that there was anything wrong with the, obviously you got to it's safe than sorry. You got to take the player health and prioritize the player health there. That was a scary enough collision that you got to make sure that he's going out and okay, but at least good to see that he was walking conscious, all that, all that stuff, moving everything, and so, because originally the broadcast was worried about lower body and that sort of part of the collision because, I mean, Karros spins. I mean, it is a hard hit. I mean, if that was open field tackling on a Sunday, you'd be sitting there and going one of those ooh type of hits that you saw there. But hopefully it's nothing too extreme, and just a total bummer there that the Rockies, right after that big moment from Karros, lose Karros on that injury. And they got to clean up some of that communication on the infield, though. There have been way too many. We've seen close collisions. We've seen close calls here. Got to be better. That type of stuff in baseball can just lead to just some really, really bad situations and bad injuries. Really, really important to make sure everyone's on the same page there. Let's talk a little bit more about the Rockies here in the offense manufacturing this win, how important this win was for the Rockies here. And the Rockies make a big-time promotion. We'll talk about that coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Odoo. Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent. It's about having everyone working towards the same goal. And that's true in sports, just like it is in business. And it's just like being a good manager, right? Reading the flow of the game, understanding, you got to make sure that you're making the adjustments, and that is going to make sure that you got to make that smooth, easy, everybody on the same page. That's what's going to separate you from one of those managers that people talk about and say, this is a game changer. It's one of those guys that just is a nobody and can be easily replaced. Great organizations win because operations matter. That's why you should get Odoo. Try for free today at odoo.com/lockedon. That's odoo.com/lockedon. We are also brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel's got you covered throughout baseball season with daily dingers. Yes, and lots of dingers being hit here when it comes to the Rockies, either by the Rockies themselves or, serving them up to the opposition when you're talking about the amount of runs given up by the Rockies. But FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their next game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet before an extra chance at winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day through the MLB season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's game, whether you're following your favorite team or keeping an eye on matchups across the league. Every game has someone capable of going deep. Now you get the chance to make your prediction before first pitch. Maybe the Rockies are going to break out from that little bit of the slump and keep the home run luck alive. And maybe it's Cole Carrig trying to launch one, or perhaps maybe go for a long flyer shot. If Zach Veen gets to see the field here, why not maybe see what the action is for Zach Veen? So are you ready to play your game today? Join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. Locked On Rockies here, back with you all. Segment number 2 of today's episode of the show. And the Rockies steal that win from the Diamondbacks. And it was a needed win here for the Rockies, as obviously the big milestone and the big thing. It's not for everybody. Obviously, we heard from some folks there in the comment section, not too worried about the Rockies and the win-loss total. But here's from Patrick Lyons here. This was going into the game or during the game here. Colorado is 1-6 since the trade deadline. They must avoid going 16 or 27 or worse, something they've seen a fair share of various 43-game stretches this season to stave off a fourth 100-loss season. So the Rockies now are 2-6 since the trade deadline. That means the Rockies now got to go. That gives them one step closer in the direction that they need to avoid the 100 losses there. This was still one where, all right, you backs were against the wall. Things were looking tough. It has been a rough week, a rough stretch here of baseball, especially coming off of that what you thought was going to be maybe a little jolt of energy from that Royals sweep, but instead the Rockies here get shut out in the first one and start trailing again early. But instead they're able to go out there. And this was and the way the Rockies brought in the winning run too. When you were looking at this one, you were kind of nervous, or at least I was nervous. Whereas, boom, Hunter Goodman, gets out there, he hits the triple. Can the Rockies manufacture this run? Can the Rockies just do, and especially when it starts, Willie Castro goes down on strikes, and you're just like, oh my goodness, we've seen this too often. But this was a win the Rockies were able to manufacture. They were out hit in this one. They struck out 7 times, but they were able to capitalize at least in the right moments and in the right situations to get out there and get that home run and finally get themselves on the board. And especially because it was just looking like the Rockies were really not seeing the ball well, looking like on offense they were underneath a lot of stuff, hitting a ton of pop flies in this ball game. But really great for Karros, as obviously we were talking about with the we'll have to see what's next, but this was Karros again as put together a pretty darn solid campaign here for himself throughout this season. He has been someone that, again, I was wondering what this was going to look like, but he has been able to come up in some key situations here and has obviously played an important third base for the Rockies here. But good to see him get himself in a little bit of a big at bat as well. I think he's a guy that we're going to continue to see grow, and I think take steps in the right direction. And every time that you get to see him, especially now hitting that double-digit marks for home runs this season here, great sign for him. Let's just take a quick look at how he has been faring of late. Let's see here. Just get some of the numbers here, especially throughout this last stretch here. We were talking about how the Rockies being 1-6 since the trade deadline, having those struggles here. 174 average with an OBP of 259 and a slugging of 304 there. So good to see Karros launch, get himself a little bit of that jump start and get himself back into the action that we've seen. Because last 15 games for Karros, a 306 average, a 386 OBP, and a slugging of 408. I think he's a guy that I wouldn't say flies completely under the radar for Rockies fans, but maybe we don't talk about nearly as much because he has just been one of those guys that has been available and pretty darn consistent for the club. As again, I think a lot of these guys' identities are starting to form here, and I think you can tell that these guys got a whole another level of confidence that they're playing with here, and that was a great swing and a good look there for Kyle, as the Rockies desperately needed that one there, especially against the division rival, shaking things up a little bit as well, making things at least a little bit more interesting as the Diamondbacks dropped that one to the Rockies here. But that wasn't the only big news for the Rockies today. Was the win. The Rockies make the promotion. They bring up Zach Veen and designate for assignment Eddie Julien there. There was really at this point in the season, at this stage, there's probably not enough. There's not enough room for Julien and Freeman. You got to make a choice between the two of them to be your other utility guy and your second base options as well. Of course, you got Willie Castro in that mix, but Willie Castro obviously wasn't at any threat of being a DFA candidate there for the Rockies. But this now is going to be. I would have liked to see Veen in the lineup right away. Obviously, the Rockies did get one of their new acquisitions here in Norby into the lineup. Here he goes, has a couple of strikeouts, but gets that walk here as well. One of the 2 walks that the Rockies drew to, I believe that was, what set up Kyle Karros' home run there, to why it was a 2-run shot was the walk. So good to see the Rockies there, but Veen's got to be seeing the field. I mean, you can't, this will be one of those things where don't take the red hot guy from AAA and then have him sit on the bench for a little bit. This first game, sure, that's fine. But a little day game action tomorrow, they're going to have to find ways to make sure that Veen is in the lineup. And I think that's going to mean we're going to see more Cole Carrick at shortstop. We're going to see some of these other guys, you're going to see more of the Moniak in the DH position here, I think, to get Veen out there, because Veen deserves a real shot here. Veen he went into the offseason, made all those changes, went into spring training with the big build and the bulking and everything, and has been putting in the work here through a successful season to get to this point. So now the Rockies need to give him that opportunity to perform. Zach Veen deserves, Jordan Beck, while he's had a couple of quick little flashes here, I'm still not fully convinced that Jordan Beck should be taking all of the playing time from a Zach Veen right now. Same thing when you're talking about, you're going to have to move Cole Carrick probably to shortstop. And with Ezequiel Tovar's performances here, then Tovar shouldn't be guaranteed playing at shortstop every day right now anyway, considering that Tovar's at the bottom of the order. And yes, we'll see one game and a flash and a here or there, but we haven't seen anything consistent enough to warrant the fact that, hey, he needs to see the field. He needs reps. He needs opportunity. And they were at this point in the season where not only did they need to call Veen up with what he was doing, as he was a monster so far this season for in the minors here. Let's just get you some of the numbers here from Albuquerque right now. In 100 games played for Albuquerque here, he's batting .327, .402, .635. His OPS is 1.037. In that time, he's hit 24 home runs. He's driven in 87. He's stolen 18 bases as well, with 128 hits in 445 plate appearances. This is the time for Zach Veen to show us what he can, let us see this new version of Zach Veen at the major league level. What does this new mindset, this new body, this new look Zach Veen look like at the majors? We didn't get to see a ton. There was a lot of hype and everything going into to what we've seen in the past. But what does this version of Zach Veen look like? And I hope the Rockies I really don't think that I'm not as worried as the past, right? But just when you see the call up and not in the lineup right away, you get a little hesitant especially of how the Rockies have handled things in the past. But the time is now for Zach Veen to prove himself. And the flip side here too, Beck's got to take advantage of his opportunities. Carrick's got to take advantage of his opportunities. Everybody that's playing in the outfield has to take advantage of their opportunities here, because there's a lot of guys throughout as the season gets, there's going to be less and less games, less and less opportunity here. They're all going to be competing, and the Rockies are going to have to, with the logjam that's still there, the Rockies are going to have to move pieces around. They're going to have to, have guys DH, play in the infield, or sit on the bench, because you got to create opportunity. And the most important at bats right now for the Rockies are the ones that you're getting to guys that you think are going to be a factor for things down the line. So we'll have to see. We'll see how the Rockies handle it. But exciting stuff. We're obviously all excited to see Zach Veen get the call up. One of the biggest names in Rockies prospect land here. So hopefully we'll see him in the day game here. Let's talk about that day game and look ahead to the finale of this series and what's next for the Rocks, all in segment number 3. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Amazon. A big thank you to our friends at Amazon for this limited break. The back-to-school season, yes, it's here. It's really starting to ramp up. I mean, the school bell's going to be ringing here sooner than you think. And I think in some cases I might have already have. And so we all know how crazy the back-to-school shopping experience can be. It starts with a few items on the list, and suddenly you're shopping for supplies, clothes, lunch gear, tech, and about 10 other things you didn't see coming. And guess what? It adds up fast. But don't stress. Don't worry. Why not go to the one place where it's all right there? It's all convenient. You don't got to drive all the way around and do all this and go manage all the other things on your schedule. Let the back-to-school shopping come to you. You're going to have to fight the battle between want versus need at this time here, because your kid's definition of need for back-to-school shopping is going to be a lot different than your definition of need. And that list is going to get longer every time they look at it. And you're going to have to explain that need versus want conundrum here throughout the time. But it's going to be all part of your process, and you're going to be shopping with confidence, knowing that you're spending less on your kids with Amazon. Yes, that's right. Spend less on your kids with Amazon's low back-to-school prices, because every dollar you don't spend on them is a dollar you haven't spent on them. Shop back to school at Amazon and spend less on your kids. Locked on Rockies here, finishing things up for today, putting a bow on this nice win for the Rockies here. Out hit by the Diamondbacks, trailing early, but the Rockies hang on and get themselves their 47th win of the season. 3 wins away from win number 50 on the season. And at that point, so what is was that 15 wins to avoid that, like we were saying earlier, 15 wins to avoid that 100 losses. It's going to be a battle. It's going to be a challenge. And the Rockies are going to be going up against Merrill Kelly in the finale, who hasn't necessarily dominated this year. He's got a 4.88 whip. I'm sorry, not a 4.88 whip. A 4.88 ERA, over 120 innings pitched for a whip of 1.47. He's allowed 126 hits in this time, 80 strikeouts there, so obviously still has that put-out potential, but he's walked 50 batters this season and given up 23 home runs. If you're looking for, again, an opportunity here for the Rockies to get a jump start and get after it, make Kelly work, make him find the zone, don't expand, don't chase too much, and that should give you an opportunity. But it's a series finale, and it's a day game series finale where the Rockies have been horrendous this year. So they're going to be looking to snap. They snapped the scoreless, the shutout and the scoreless inning streak there against the Diamondbacks in Game 2. Now they hopefully can to snap the streak of poor performances and lack of execution in series finales, as pulling off this series win, especially with the way this one started, would be a pretty darn. That would be a pretty big of a doozy of a series win for the Rockies. Not going to move the needle too much for them, but certainly will make you feel a little bit better, and certainly will have flipped the script on the series, considering how it started. Rockies turning to Ryan Feltner here with a 5.71 ERA over 82 innings pitched with a whip of 1.45. The strikeouts, we know Feltner can get them. He's got 33 walks and 18 home runs there. So both pitchers are going to have to execute. Both pitchers are going to have to find the zone here in this day game, as the Rockies look to, after stealing Game 2, steal the series here. So we'll have to see how it all shakes out. But really, the thing I'm hoping for, the thing I'm most focused on for this Game 3 is seeing Zach Veen on the field here, as after this, the Rockies will have one of their Thursday off days, as it seems to be the norm here in the month of August for them, before they will finish up this crazy long road trip with a 3-game set against San Francisco here. So lots of National League West action for the Rockies, as it's Arizona, San Francisco, LA here the next for the current series and the next 2 ahead. So this will be obviously always a challenge for the Rockies against their division. But if they can put up some solid performances, steal some wins here, we'll be shaking up the standings of the National League West a little bit as well. All right, folks, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB and all the other great stuff that we got there. Back to the bullpen, Locked On MLB and Locked On MLB Game Night. Plus, we got you covered with Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, and Buffs, all free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.